Elias had a ritual. Every Tuesday, rain or shine, he was on the Hemlock Ridge Trail by dawn. It wasn't just exercise, it was a conversation with himself, a silent dialogue with the whispering pines and the ancient stones. He knew every root, every switchback, every patch of moss that clung to the boulders like a green velvet skin. On this particular Tuesday, the air was crisp, scented with pine needles and damp earth, the sky a hopeful blush of pink and gold. He walked with the familiar rhythm of his breath, a steady pace that mirrored the quiet hum of the forest around him. His boots crunched softly on the gravel path, a solitary sound in the vast silence. Elias often felt most himself here, stripped of the expectations and demands of the world beyond the tree line. This trail was his sanctuary, his anchor. But today, something was different. A subtle shift in the air, a faint echo that wasn't his own. He heard an extra scuff of a boot, a second, almost imperceptible rustle of fabric. He paused, his head cocked slightly. Listening? Nothing, just the wind sifting through the branches. He dismissed it as an overactive imagination, a trick of the early morning light playing on his senses. He resumed his walk, and then he felt it. Not a presence behind him, but beside him, in his peripheral vision, a distinct parallel movement. Elias slowed, then stopped, his heart beginning a soft thrum against his ribs. He turned his head slowly, deliberately, and there he was. Standing no more than an arm's length away on the very same path was Elias himself. Not a reflection in a pool of water, not a fleeting shadow, but a tangible, breathing man, identical in every single detail. The same faded blue hiking shirt, the same sturdy boots, the same slight graying at the temples. Even the slight lines around the eyes from years of squinting into the sun were perfectly mirrored. And on this other Elias's face was a quiet, knowing smile. A smile that seemed to hold both immense peace and a touch of gentle sorrow. Elias stared, utterly breathless. No fear, surprisingly, just an overwhelming sense of profound, inexplicable recognition. He tried to speak, but his throat felt suddenly dry and no sound emerged. The double spoke then, his voice a perfect echo of Elias's own, yet somehow deeper, softer, imbued with a strange, resonant calm. "Hello, Elias," he said, his smile widening almost imperceptibly. Elias finally found his voice, a whispered, incredulous question. Who are you?" The double's gaze was steady, unwavering. "I am you, Elias, or rather, the part of you that never strayed, the part that always knew." He paused, his eyes sweeping over the familiar trail, then back to Elias, and then he spoke the words that would echo in Elias's mind for years to come, words delivered not as a judgment, but as a quiet, undeniable truth. "You were never meant to leave the trail." The air thickened, not with dread, but with an almost unbearable weight of understanding. Elias's mind reeled. Leave the trail? He'd left this trail many times. Left it to go to college, to pursue a career in the city, to build a life that, on the surface, seemed successful and fulfilling. He'd left it for relationships, for responsibilities, for the expectations that society gently, then firmly placed upon him. "What do you mean?" Elias finally managed, his voice barely a whisper. I had to leave. Life moved on. I grew up." The double smile remained, gentle, even compassionate. He didn't offer a direct answer, no long explanation. Instead, his gaze seemed to penetrate beyond Elias's skin, into the quiet, often unacknowledged corners of his soul. "This trail," the double said, gesturing vaguely around them, encompassing the trees, the earth, the very air they breathed, "is more than just a path through the woods. It is a way, a truth, a rhythm. You walked away from your own rhythm, Elias. You chose a different beat. Elias felt a profound ache in his chest, a recognition of a truth he had long buried. The quiet discontent that sometimes surfaced when he was stuck in traffic or navigating a particularly complex corporate meeting. The faint yearning he felt when he saw a bird soar freely or when the moon rose full and luminous over the city skyline. He had always dismissed it as mere nostalgia, a longing for a simpler time. But the double's words suggested something far deeper, a fundamental divergence from his authentic self. He thought of the exhilaration he felt when he was truly immersed in nature, the clarity of thought that came with the rhythmic ascent of a mountain, the profound sense of belonging he found in the wild. He had sought success, security, the approval of others, and in gaining those things, had he lost something far more precious? The double took a slow, deep breath, the movement perfectly synchronized with Elias's own, yet somehow more profound. The path you took, he continued, his voice softer now, was not wrong, Elias. No path taken is ever truly wrong. But it was not your path, not truly, not the one your deepest self longed for. Elias stood there, rooted to the spot, the weight of a lifetime of choices pressing down on him. The double wasn't condemning him. He was merely reflecting a truth that Elias had intuitively known but consistently ignored. The double was the quiet voice of his own soul, finally given form and sound. As Elias absorbed these words, a strange sensation began. The edges of the double's form seemed to soften, to blur. Not dramatically, not with a flash or a vanish, but like a mirage slowly dissolving into the morning light. His features, still perfectly Elias's, became less distinct, more translucent. The quiet smile lingered, a beacon of acceptance and gentle reminder. "It is never too late to find your way back," the double's voice whispered, growing fainter, seeming to rise from the very earth around them. And then he was gone. There was no disturbance in the air, no shift in the light. He simply wasn't there anymore. Elias stood alone on the trail, the sun now peeking over the ridge, casting long golden shadows through the trees. The world around him was the same, yet utterly transformed. The crunch of his boots on the gravel suddenly felt different, more significant. Every step now carried the weight of a profound understanding. He continued his walk, but it was no longer just a ritual. It was a journey of rediscovery. The mountain trail, once merely a physical path, had become a metaphor for his life, a reminder of the quiet, enduring self that had always been there, waiting for him to listen. He didn't know what his next steps would be, what changes he might make, but he knew one thing for certain. He would seek to realign himself, to find that forgotten rhythm, to walk the path that truly belonged to him. This story of Elias and its smiling twin is a gentle whisper, isn't it? A soft reminder that sometimes the most profound truths come not from grand pronouncements, but from the quiet reflection of a familiar path. It asks us to consider our own lives. What trail were we meant to stay on? What inner rhythm have we perhaps ignored in the pursuit of other things? It's a profound question, and one that often requires the quiet solitude of a personal journey to answer. Perhaps it invites us to pause, to listen to the whispers of our own deepest selves, and to find our way back to the trails that truly define us. We'd love to hear your thoughts on this story. Do you have a trail you feel you were meant to stay on? Share your reflections in the comments below, and if this story resonated with you, consider giving it a like and following for more narratives that explore the deeper currents of life.